Hey y'all, it's me. I hope that this Saturday is finding you well. I had to come up and try out my new phone. I'm so excited. Chelsea and I went after it this morning, and I'm hoping that it's going to make the whole walking experience so much more pleasant. I've got my little rocks out here, my container, and I'm going to walk the opposite direction. Someone told me the other day that they liked it when I walked this opposite direction because you get such a nice view of the valley when I round this second corner down here. So let's go this direction. Well, it has been an eventful week for us. Much of it kind of sadly eventful. Y'all know Fatso. Fatso is one of the kitties that Aaron brought back from Georgia, and he was Huey's favorite. He would always meet us whenever we went outside. He'd walk along with us, and he was just a gentle little loving soul. Well, a couple of nights ago, Fatso was in the dog lot. He had gotten into the dog lot and no one knew, and Hugh let the dogs out. And before Hugh could even get off the porch, Kaiser got a hold of him and he killed him. It was devastating for all of us, and he's just going to be sorely missed. Sweet little gentle soul. So I thought that was a hard way to start this video off, but I did want to share that with you because I know that many of you know who Fatso is. You've seen him from the time he was still a kitten down in Georgia, and yeah, it just hurts our heart. And he was Huey's favorite. I think he was all of our favorite at our house because he was just the friendliest and the gentlest, but all of them are beginning to just kind of gentle down, and some of them that would not allow us to touch them when Aaron first brought them home. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to walk slowly today, girls and guys. But they're much more gentle, and there's 3 of them now that will let us actually pet them. Hugh has picked one of them up, one of the kittens. So I think they're going to all just join in the little gang at the farm and enjoy being there. And my poor little Kaiser, he's the one that, he's not aggressive. He is a very, very gentle and sweet dog, but he has a significant prey drive. And the only thing we have, the dogs are contained. They're never where they can get to the cats. But the cats are not contained, and they can go where the dogs are at. And of course, we have field fence around the dog lots, and the dogs can't get out of the field fence. However, I've got to take my jacket off. I can't believe this day. It is so much warmer than yesterday. Was frigid. But the field fence has larger openings the cats can get through. And the chickens, of course, can stick their heads through. All of the birds can. So my goal is tomorrow to take chicken wire and go around the outside of all the dog fencing. And no, that will not keep the cats out if the cats are determined to go in there. But I'm thinking that it will deter them. I don't think that they will really want to try that hard to get in there when there's so many other places for them to go. and explore. So hopefully we'll never have another kerfuffle like this happen again. And that's what I'm hoping. Someone had asked me something when I was up here again, if I would, I don't know, show something, but I can't remember what it was. If you're someone that asked me to do something specific up here, ask that question again if you don't mind, and we'll try to take care of that next time. Listen to me, I'm a little out of breath today. You can tell it's been a while since I've walked up here. I hope I can make this happen more often. For me, for my health. Even though at the farm there's plenty to do, there's lots going on. What I'm missing out, working there, I get plenty of exercise. Well, there's lots of lifting and tugging and pulling and weeding and all of those sorts of things. But it's the anaerobic part that's missing. I get little short bursts of anaerobic when I'm walk down to Chelsea's, or I walk down to the barn, or I walk up to the burn pile, or I do something of that nature. But nothing that's a consistent, 30 minutes at a time. So even though I told y'all the other day that I may not be taking too many walks up here because of that, because of so much going on the farm, boy, I am a double-minded person, unstable in all my ways. No, I hope I can make these walks happen more often, because I need them. Absolutely I do. I should not be this breathy today. Okay, and now, probably last weekend, early this week, it was either Sunday or Monday, so we had a little black and tan hound dog. I hear something over in the woods. I don't see him. Show up at our house, and I can't remember whether I've mentioned him to y'all or not. But he had been sprayed with a skunk. And this little guy showed up. He is exhausted and so hungry that we had to be careful. He ate all the cat food that was on the porch. And so we had to be careful about letting him eat too much. And he laid down on the porch on one of the little cushions that we have out there that the cats lay on. And he slept. And a little while later, we'd feed him some more, and he'd eat, and he would sleep. This guy was the most precious little dude, and was so beautiful. And he had on a gray and orange collar. I took photographs of him, and I posted his picture on a site called Finding My Way Home. It's a Facebook group here in Haywood County. And a lot of people recirculated his photograph, but we never got anyone actually asking about him. He stayed all night that night, and as he stretched out on the cushion that goes on my little glider rocker that eventually will go back in the porch when I get the porch cleaned off all the animal food barrels. But he stretched out on that, and I thought, oh, it's just going to smell like skunk from now on. So I brought an old blanket out. It was cold that night too, and he was a short-haired dog. And I covered him up, and he just laid there and let me tuck the blanket around him. And the next morning he was gone. So I thought, well, maybe during the night either someone came around looking for him and called him, or he just decided he had enough energy to go on home. And Chelsea and I had to run to town to pick up a few things from the grocery store. And when we came back, he had returned. And he was on the porch again, eating cat food. So we decided we were just going to go ahead and take him to the Humane Society instead of just letting him continue hanging around. Because honestly, y'all, as much as I'd love to keep him, we really have so many critters that it's not just that it's expensive taking care of them, it's time consuming taking care of them, but at some point you really can't give them enough attention when you have to spread yourself so thin. So Chelsea and I decided we would take him to the Humane Society. And so we drove him over to our little county Humane Society. And a wonderful place, a large facility. And they do a stellar job of taking care of these critters, giving them the medical care they need, rehoming them. And we were so impressed that we decided we would sign up on their little volunteer list. So we did, and Chelsea and I went for our orientation meeting this morning. And when Aaron found out where we were going, he decided to go with us. I'm thinking, okay, this could really be a bad thing. 3 of us that are such animal lovers volunteering at the Humane Society, where there's constantly going to be little critters that need to be rehomed, that need someone to take them home and love them. We're just gluttons for punishment, I think. But so we were at the Humane Society at 9:30 for a little orientation meeting. Lasted about an hour, 15-20 minutes or so. And Aaron had driven separately. So on the way home, or as we were pulling out the driveway, Chelsea said, well, Mom, since we're already out, do you want to go ahead and go find out about your phone? Look at the phones. And we had already seen an advertisement on the Today Show this morning. Hugh and Aaron and I had watched for this particular phone that I've ended up buying. And I was so excited about this one that I said, yeah, I know which one I want. So we drove over to the Verizon store in Waynesville. Had a wonderful, knowledgeable young attendant help us. And it was the most pleasant experience I've ever had in a phone store. And I don't know if y'all are like me, but I would just almost rather eat something really nasty or go without food all day than to go to a phone store. But this was actually just a pleasant experience. And so I got this little phone, and I'm hoping that it is everything that it is supposed to be. I haven't taken any photographs with it, but I know that looking through the lens right now, it looks super crisp, and not nearly as bouncy as it typically looks when I'm trying to walk smoothly. Like I told y'all before, I've never had any training on how to walk smoothly, so I kind of jolt along. But anyway, so then that was the morning, going to the Humane Society for the orientation, then going to take care of my phone. And so it was almost 2 o'clock. It's about 20 before 2 when we pulled back into the valley. And as we're passing Sean and Teresa's house, I saw all these little people running around in their yard and all these cars parked, and I said, oh, Chelsea, I forgot. Today is Robert's birthday, and Pops and I are supposed to be back over here at 2 o'clock for Robert's birthday party. I had it on my calendar, but I hadn't looked at the calendar today. And the day just kind of happened and got away from us. So, went home. Pops got cleaned up, and we'd already bought Robert's present yesterday. So we drove down to the birthday party and stayed for a pretty good bit. We watched him play and beat up the Spider-Man piñata. And he opened his little presents, and we had some birthday cake. So anyway, it was sweet. It was sweet, all those precious little people there. And then I went home and just thinking about my phone and looking at this day. It must be 60 degrees out here. And it's only just very slightly chilly when you're in the shade. But when you're in the full sun, it is wonderful. So I thought, no, I can't pass this up. Between the beautiful day and a new phone, I'm going for a walk. So I'm just making y'all walk with me, guys. What a beautiful day. So it's been busy this week. And a couple of days ago, some of you joined me as we were making soil blocks. And I now have 400 of the teeny tiny little soil blocks, the 3/4 inch. And let me see, 80 of, I think they're 1.5 inch blocks ready for the seed to go in. And I thought that I would get to that yesterday. I know that some of you want to join me in that venture, and I was just so discombobulated over little fatso getting killed that I did not want to be on camera. And I don't know when I started having emotions again. And I don't know if any of y'all that have been through a really, really strong time of grief with losing someone super close to you or your child, if you've experienced what I have. But that first year when Jared, after he left, was so excruciatingly painful that I honestly just didn't want to live any longer. Everything hurt so badly. And I just thought of myself that I was really no good to anyone because my own pain kept me so drowned, or feeling like I was drowning. And the second year was very, very painful. But not quite so much in some ways, and more so sporadically in other ways. I think that the second year was almost harder in some ways because the first year you're partly in shock, especially maybe when the death is so sudden and unexpected, as it was with Jared's suicide. The third year, I finally started feeling as though I could breathe again. And I also began learning how to shut down my emotions when I felt them coming on. Because honestly, sometimes it was hard to even be out in public and most of the time I wouldn't go out in public because I just never knew if someone came up to me that had known Jared or had known us or knew us. I wanted people to say his name, and I wanted people to acknowledge that they missed him or whatever. And what I noticed, and take this as you will, because I know that a lot of people say, well, that's you just kind of being self-centered. I don't think it was me being self-centered. I think it was me just desperately wanting to know that the memory of my child would live on, because we knew him to be such an amazing and wonderful individual. And we didn't want him to be remembered just by the way he died, but we wanted him to be remembered by the way he lived and who he was. And so when we would see people at the grocery store, and sometimes you'd see them maybe go the other direction if they saw you coming, it was a very uncomfortable place. And I realize that a lot of people are just uncomfortable with trying to know how to respond or how to speak with someone, especially a parent maybe, whose child has left life through suicide. And that was really kind of unexpected for a long while. And so in some ways, I find myself just shutting up even more tightly. By about the 4th year, I started actually seeing little glimpses of hope for the future. And the load just felt a little lighter. And I just found myself actually making plans. And so that was unexpected also. And the 5th year, more so. And the 6th year, this past year, was really the first year that I feel like I was on an even keel pretty much all the time. But I also noticed that even keel had a cost, because what was happening is that I had stopped allowing myself to feel pretty much any emotion. I just kept everything just so tightly bottled up. And I feel like I'm moving along fine. I felt like I was moving along fine because I was looking forward to things and finding joy in things. And I guess joy is an emotion, so we won't go completely that far the other way. But I wouldn't allow myself feel sadness or I don't know, I guess any type of emotion like that. I just had too tight of a hold on everything. And Chelsea, because of her profession as a paramedic, found out very early on after Jared left that she was going to have a little help dealing with things. And so she started seeing a therapist, and I don't think that she would mind my sharing that with you. But this therapist has helped her tremendously to work through a lot of the loss, a lot of the pain that she deals with on a pretty regular basis. Because if you can imagine, as a paramedic, getting called to the home of someone that has just committed suicide, just the reliving that deep pain and grief on kind of a routine basis. The fact that she was, also being called to car accidents where there's a young child that was killed and the parents are so traumatized and you are unable to help them and they're begging you to make their child come back to life. It's a desperate need for our first responders to have emotional support. And so I realize that is absolutely a good thing. Many people need that help, but I've dragged my feet and refused it for myself. And I'm still not ready to go that route. But I told you all to tell you this, that I started noticing that I'm actually feeling those emotions again through what Aaron has experienced this past year and the pain that's been happening in his life. And then losing our little creatures here and there. I've had, some of my feathery friends have been killed by our critters. And yeah, it's different than experiencing the death of a loved one. But those of you who are animal lovers, you know what I'm talking about. But I told Chelsea this morning, after we saw the little guy at the shelter, he's still there. He's getting ready to have his surgery. He's getting ready to be neutered. And then he will be up for adoption. But when we walked in the room, the people that were with us walked in first. And he just kind of laid there and looked at them kind of disinterestedly. And then Aaron and Chelsea and I walked in. And that little dude saw us, and he jumped up and his tail started wagging. And oh, my heart melted, and I started crying. And I started realizing that these emotions are coming back. And on one hand, I want to block them, I want to shut them back down because they're painful. But on the other hand, y'all, I realize that emotions are part of life, part of what makes us human. So, Chelsea and I discussed it as we left. And I said, I just don't know that I want to start experiencing having feelings again. And she said, that was my last one. She says, I don't know, Mom. She said, I think that it really wouldn't be a bad thing for you to consider seeing a counselor or a therapist. I'm not ready to do that. I'm just, I think that I'm working through this just more slowly than maybe it would happen with a counselor or a therapist. But it just occurred to me that y'all are kind of my therapist and my counselor. I hope you don't mind. I just so much appreciate the love and the support that I get from y'all, and just the encouragement that I get from y'all. And I know that this video is probably not the most encouraging video that I've ever put out, but I just wanted to thank y'all for the encouragement that you've given me, and let you know that sometimes it's needed more than I bet you that I bet you understand. All right, I wanted to show you this view because you can see the green. The green is coming, y'all. I can't wait for you to see these mountains this spring, this summer, and this fall. What a beautiful, beautiful place on the planet. All right. I love y'all. I've kind of poured my heart out to you, and I appreciate you listening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope that we have lots of things happening this week that you'll join me. We will be planting the seeds, and we will be getting that second painting video out. And there's so many things going on that need to be done that I'm not really sure what to tell you will be happening next. I know those two things, but it's going to be a busy season, y'all. And I love you, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.